So there's this popular phrase or framework that became very popular in the online marketing space, and more than likely probably extends outside of our space as well. But this is the 1-1-1 framework or 1-1-1 model. Now, when I say 1-1-1, what that stands for is one offer, one client avatar, and one acquisition channel. Okay, so one type of offer or product or service that you are selling to a person, then one avatar or type of person you are selling to, and then one acquisition channel, which is your method for getting in touch with them to sell that thing. Now, we're going to talk a lot about the 1-1-1 framework in this video, and then also the 3-3-3 framework and what it looks like to transition from one to the other. And you can probably in your head skip forward a few chapters right now and see where we're going with this, about how to expand from 1-1-1 to 3-3-3 and the benefits that that might have. Now, I believe that this is still the fastest growth framework to get to 7 figures, having one specific offer, one specific client avatar, and one specific acquisition channel, and just mastering those and getting really, really good at them. I believe that if you focus in on that strategy, that framework, you can get from 0 to 7 figures in under a year. And I know that because I've done it. I've done it with 4 different 6 and 7 figure marketing companies. And that's why for today, I'll be talking about how to master that 1-on-1 scaling model. But then I'm also going to talk about how to transition to the 3-3-3 model, where you create more diversification amongst your products, services, offers, avatars, acquisition channels, etc., to build more stability into your business as you scale. And as a fun side note, in a moment, I'll be sharing a story of how the 1-1-1 model or framework actually cost me 6 figures and nearly burnt one of my 7-figure businesses to the ground. More on that coming up in just a second. But before that, let's go ahead and start off by talking about the 1-1-1 framework. I want to give you some examples of the components within the 1-1-1 framework, such as examples of offers, examples of avatars, and examples of acquisition channels. And then we can discuss what it looks like to put it all together and scale a company up to 7 figures using the framework, right? So here are some examples of offers, or different offer modalities, as I call them. There's DIY, which is do it yourself. This could be like an info product or a mini course or a training or really any type of course. It's DIY. You're selling something that the customer or client can implement themselves. Then there's DWI, which is done with you. This is kind of like hands-on consulting. Maybe you're selling an information product, but also helping the client along their journey, more or less. We do a lot of this in our company right now. And then there's DFY. This is done for you, such as agency services and services that you are putting into place for the client so they don't have to do the work themselves. You can obviously tell that that is a very valuable offer because it's completely done for you, right? Then there's the fractional CMO and direct consulting type of offers where you are much more hands-on with your client. Maybe you're not doing the fulfillment work in the way you or your team would in the done for you model, but you are more or less consulting with the business owner and telling them who and what they need to put in place to get the work done, right? By the way, I'm going to be releasing a mini course very, very soon that breaks down how to start, grow, and scale a business to 6 and 7 figures using all of those offer modalities, DIY, DWI, DFY, etc. That should be rolling out within the next month or so. The price will be about the same as a meal at a restaurant. It'll be super, super cheap. But make sure you subscribe to the channel so you are notified when that rolls out. I'm confident it's going to be more valuable than most $10,000 courses out there. So again, subscribe, turn on the notifications, make sure you are notified whenever that happens. So diving back in, let's talk about examples of avatars in the 1-1-1 model. Okay, client avatars, ICP, target market, TAM. These are all ways to describe the ideal customer that we are trying to get in front of and sell to, okay? Now, depending on what your company offers, this could really be anyone who has a pain point and is willing to pay to solve that pain point or that problem, okay? Some examples could be a business owner who's needing help with their marketing. It could be an individual who is wanting help with weight loss, so they go to a personal trainer. Another one is people wanting to learn a new language, and they go to a tutor to learn Spanish or French or whatever language they want to. These are all examples of what could be a potential customer avatar. In your business, you just need to sit down with a pen and paper and spend a good hour or so writing down who is my ideal client avatar, what traits do they have, what pain points do they struggle with, what is keeping them from growing their business or succeeding in whatever way they want to. If you get more familiar with that client avatar, you will know how to market to them better. That leads us to the next point, which is examples of acquisition channels in the 1-1-1 model, okay? So in the 1-1-1 framework, you could implement any single one of these acquisition channels. There's organic and content. It's kind of like what I'm doing right here with this YouTube video, creating content and adding value to your target market. Then there's outbound. This could be like cold calling, cold email. There is different types of paid advertising, such as Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads, TikTok ads, etc. And then there's things like referral partnerships and affiliates as well. So that was a super quick breakdown of the different types of offers, the different types of client avatars, and the different types of acquisition channels. Now, obviously the 111 framework means you are choosing one of those offer types, one client avatar, and one acquisition channel, and mastering each of those. And you can scale up very, very quickly and very simply. Did I say it was going to be easy? No, but it can be simple because of the 111 method, and it can be fast as well. Again, I've scaled multiple companies to 7 figures in under a year using the 111 framework. As a matter of fact, I want to give you a quick example of my first 111 method execution. And this was back in 2018, actually. This was when I scaled a company to 7 figures in under a year for the first time. I had been running my marketing agency for several years and making good money doing that. But then in 2018, I decided to also, on top of that, launch an online course. Okay. So let's talk about the 111 method for that business. The offer was an online course and community. This is back in 2018 again. The avatar was new entrepreneurs wanting to learn more about digital marketing, and the acquisition method was paid advertising. We were very aggressive with Facebook ads. We spent about $40,000 to $50,000, sometimes $60,000 on paid advertising. So that was it. It was one offer, a course, one avatar, new entrepreneurs, and one acquisition method, which was paid advertising. And by focusing on and mastering each of those, offer, avatar, acquisition method, we were able to scale up from ground zero to 7 figures in generated sales in under, I believe, 6 or 7 months. So now to wrap this whole thing up, let's talk about the 333 framework, which by now you probably know exactly what that means. This is what it looks like to expand from the 111 model, where you only have one offer, one avatar, one acquisition channel, to now having multiple offers. Maybe you have different tiers of prices or products. You have multiple avatars, which doesn't mean you have to go to a completely different industry, but you can either go up market or down market, as we'll talk about in a minute, and target different types of the same avatar. And then you're expanding from one acquisition channel to multiple acquisition channels, building diversification amongst your acquisition methods. This whole transition from the 1 to the 3 is really exciting for me to talk about right now, because it's something that my company has been implementing for the past year and moving into 2024, okay? And I really think that using my company as an example when I talk about this, going from 1 to 3, is going to be the best way I can use to teach on this topic and provide maximum clarity, right? So let me talk about that for a second. Our consulting firm has been expanding from one offer, okay? We were simply offering direct consulting to a specific avatar, but now we're rolling out different offers such as low ticket educational products and additional consulting services. Okay, so that's how we're going from one offer to 3. It's not just high ticket consulting, it's also other consulting services and low ticket products, like the mini course I mentioned earlier that I'm super excited to roll out to you guys. And then we had a single client avatar, which was established agency owners who were looking to scale up from wherever they're at, from 20K per month up to 80K or 100K per month. But now we're going to add in different avatars in addition to that one avatar, which could mean us going downstream a little bit, or down market, if you will, such as communicating with agency owners who are a little less established, or going up market and reaching out to agency owners who are already doing 8 figures, possibly later on this year, right? So we're looking at up market and down market opportunities for expanding our client avatar. And then lastly, and then you guessed it, we're going from only paid advertising as an acquisition channel to also organic content, such as the video you're watching now, and then referral programs, building online communities, possibly affiliates and things like that. So I hope this has been a pretty thorough rundown of what the 111 and the 333 models or frameworks look like, what they are, some examples of different types of offer modalities, different types of avatars, and different types of acquisition channels that you could put into place to either, for the first time, build the 111 framework or transition to the 333 by adding on more components such as the ones we talked about. But on the back end of all that, I want to give you some quick action items as we wrap up this video, okay? Number 1, if you haven't yet, identify the elements of the 111 framework as they pertain to your business, okay? If you are a marketing agency owner, you need to identify what is my main simple offer that I'm going to sell to my main ideal simplified specific client avatar, and then what one acquisition channel am I going to master in order to start getting in front of more of that avatar, right? In my agency, we had a very simple bundled SEO and Google Ads offer that we sold to home service companies, and we got in front of those home service companies via Facebook advertising and generating leads for ourselves, okay? Now, if you're already crushing it and hitting 7 figures, now it's time to identify what offer modalities, and avatars, and acquisition channels you could potentially tack on to what you're currently already doing to start building diversification and redundancies in your model. And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about in this video, that notion of building redundancies and building diversification into things like your offer and your acquisition channel. Quick story on this, and this is actually the latter half of the story I told you earlier about the company I scaled from ground zero to 7 figures in 6 or 7 months. Well, that business went on to have, I think, like 18 or 20 consecutive 6-figure months before COVID came and things really slowed down. But there was a time about halfway through that whole story, about halfway through that business's life cycle, where we had our Facebook ad accounts shut down. I mean, out of nowhere, one day came along and we had all of our ad accounts and our business manager shut down. And guess what? We had the 111 framework going and alive and well, which means we only had that one acquisition channel. So this business where we were spending over $1,000 a day, probably $40,000 or $50,000 per month, and generating $150,000 to $200,000 in revenue every month, that entire company and its entire client acquisition process came to a screeching halt. So you can probably imagine I had a few panic attacks and a few stomach ulcers, and I had a few all-nighters, and I ramped up a new funnel and a new campaign on YouTube ads, and we got the ship back on track. But man, it sucked. And it was because we didn't have diversification amongst our client acquisition channels. So I don't need to harp on this too much, but the main lesson here is if you're using the 111 model, you can scale very simply and very fast, okay? But as you truly scale your company and begin to build out your team, you want to also build out different offers and go after different avatars, either up market or down market, and then build in different acquisition systems into your business. That way, if any one of those elements falls out, such as an acquisition channel that gets suspended, you're not left high and dry with no way to speak to your target clientele and get more customers. And what's funny is you can also roll this principle of redundancies and diversification into other aspects of your business, such as having a higher number of clients. That's kind of a no-duh thing, but the thing is, if you have 20 clients and you lose one, it's not a super big deal. But if you have 3 clients and you lose one, well, you just lost a third of your business. So the more clients you have, the more you can weather the storm when something bad happens. Same goes for like having X amount of sales team members, because if you lose one sales team member and you had 10, well, that's not too bad. You go from 10 to 9, you can replace that one person. But if you have 2 salespeople and then you lose one, well, you just lost half your workforce, right? So we need to learn how to implement diversification and redundancies across all the different departments and areas of our business. This is what will help us build in consistency and stability and kind of have a safety net for growth as we start to really ramp up and scale our companies. So quick thing before we go, if you do want to get your hands on the mini course that I talked about earlier, which will focus on the different offer modalities that you can roll out in your agency, it will also include an agency sales masterclass, along with a few other goodies like a free GHL snapshot and all that stuff. If you want to be notified of that whenever it rolls out, please subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications so that way you'll be able to see whenever I post a video about that. It will be rolling out in January. The cost will be about the same as a meal at a decent restaurant, but I promise it will have more value than most $10,000 courses on the market, like I said earlier, okay? So I can't wait for you to check that out, especially if you're someone who's trying to implement a lot of the strategies that we talked about in this video. Having said all that, guys, I hope this video was very informative. Comment below, let me know what your 111 is. What's your offer? What's your avatar? What acquisition channel are you utilizing? And then how can you beef it up to become at least a 222 or a 333? How are you diversifying your acquisition channels and your client avatars? What are you going to tack on to your model moving into the next few months and moving into this next year? Comment below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Y'all take care.